Hello Year 12s and welcome to the second in a series of 3 videos on how individuals or groups can influence law reform. That is, how individuals or groups can influence changes in the law. The word reform means to change. In this video, we'll be looking at how individuals and groups can influence law reform, that is, how individuals and groups can influence changes in the law through the use of demonstrations. There are 4 things that you need to do while you're watching this video. First, take the very best Cornell notes that you can. Second, use the pause and rewind functions. Use the pause function if you need to stop this video to take notes. Use the rewind function if you need to go over any information contained in this video. The third thing that you need to do is have your summary books open in front of you. As we go through this video, I will give you some guidance as to what you should include in your summary books. And the fourth thing that you need to do is have your vocabulary sheets open in front of you so that you can write into your vocabulary sheets the definitions of key terms and of any other words the meaning of which you're unfamiliar with. Once you've finished watching this video, please read the pages from the textbook referred to on this slide. And if you find any additional information from that reading that you think is useful, then supplement your Cornell notes with that additional information. Well, let's get started then. On this slide, I've set out your learning intention for this video. Make sure that you write this learning intention down in your Cornell notes. As a result of watching and taking notes on this video, you should be able to discuss the means by which individuals or groups can influence law reform through the use of demonstrations, using examples. There are 3 ways in which individuals and groups can influence law reform, that is, changes in the law. These are through the use of petitions, demonstrations, and the courts. Each of the 3 videos in this series will look at one of these ways in which individuals and groups can influence law reform. As you can see from our learning intention, in this video we are looking at how individuals and groups can influence law reform through the use of demonstrations. Let's start off by defining what a demonstration is. A demonstration, also known as a protest or rally, is a public gathering of people to support a change in law by bringing the issue to the attention of lawmakers and also to the attention of the community more generally. Look down the left-hand side of your vocabulary sheets, find the term demonstration and write this definition in there. Now, because everyone knows what a demonstration is, you don't need to define this term when you're referring to a demonstration in an answer that you're writing to a SAC or exam question. On the next few slides, I've given you some examples of recent demonstrations. Over the last few years, there have been student demonstrations aimed at persuading the Commonwealth Parliament to pass laws that restrict activities, such as coal mining, that produce greenhouse gases. The emission of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere results in global warming, which can have a range of detrimental effects, such as damage to the environment and community, as seen in recent bushfires, damage to the economy, with loss of jobs in the tourism industry as a result, for example, of the bleaching of the Great Barrier Reef, and damage to people's health, for instance because of heat stroke. This demonstration was one of the School Strike for Climate demonstrations that was held in Melbourne in May 2021 and involved nearly 20,000 students and their families. A survey conducted in 2020 found that 78% of 10 to 24-year-old Australians were concerned or extremely concerned about climate change, but only 13% felt they were listened to by government leaders. This was a large but peaceful demonstration that did not cause much inconvenience to the public. This is in contrast to the large demonstrations organised by the climate change activist group Extinction Rebellion in 2019, which were also aimed at persuading the Commonwealth Parliament to pass laws to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The Extinction Rebellion protesters caused significant inconvenience to the public by locking themselves together with pipes in the middle of a busy intersection in the Melbourne Central Business District during the morning peak hour and gluing their hands on the King Street Bridge, a major route into the city. As you can see from this article, many members of the public supported the changes in the law that the demonstrators were calling for, but they were extremely annoyed by the disruption that the demonstrators caused. The police arrested over 100 demonstrators and charged a number of them with various public order offences. A similar demonstration during the afternoon peak hour, when people were trying to leave the city to get home, caused more inconvenience to the public, which is likely to also have resulted in the demonstrators losing the support of people who would have otherwise agreed with the changes in the law that were being promoted by the demonstrators. Again, a number of demonstrators were arrested by the police. And here is an example of one of the small but violent demonstrations held by protesters against the lockdowns imposed by the Victorian government during the COVID-19 pandemic. These demonstrations were aimed at persuading the Victorian Parliament to change the law to remove measures such as compulsory masks, travel restrictions and stay-at-home orders that were being used to control the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Because these demonstrations were small and did not represent the views of the majority of the community, who were concerned about the health impacts, including deaths, resulting from the spread of the virus, they were not effective in persuading the Victorian Parliament to change the law. On the contrary, the violence that accompanied these demonstrations, including assaults on police and the fact that many of the protesters endangered the health of the community by not wearing masks and socially distancing, is likely to have reduced any support that there was in the broader community for changing the law in accordance with the wishes of the demonstrators. You'll recall that our learning intention requires you to be able to discuss the means by which individuals or groups can influence law reform through the use of demonstrations. On this slide and the next slide, I've included a table that sets out the strengths and weaknesses of demonstrations as a way for individuals and groups to influence reforms, that is, changes in the law. You can use this table as a basis for your discussion of the way in which individuals and groups can influence law reform through the use of demonstrations. Please include this table in your summary books and make sure that you supplement the information contained in this table with notes from your reading of the textbook and from the discussion which follows, which will help you to better explain the points made in this table. The first strength of demonstrations is that if the demonstration is a large demonstration with lots of participants, then it is more likely to put pressure on Parliament to change the law in accordance with the wishes of the demonstrators. This is because a demonstration with a large number of participants is more likely to show that there is widespread support for changing the law. As we know, because the Australian parliamentary system is based on representative government, members of Parliament will be more inclined to vote for a change in the law where this is supported by voters, because otherwise they risk being voted out of Parliament at the next election. Conversely, a demonstration that is a small demonstration with few participants is unlikely to be very effective in persuading Parliament to change the law. The second strength of demonstrations is that particularly if they are large, they may get the attention of a Member of Parliament who is willing to champion the change in law that the demonstration is supporting. Alternatively, or in addition, the demonstration may attract the attention of the media, which might then publicise the demonstration and the change in law that the demonstration is supporting. This publicity might put pressure on Parliament to change the law in accordance with the wishes of the demonstrators, because members of Parliament might see the publicity as reflecting widespread voter support for the change. However, a demonstration can turn the public, Parliament and the media against the change in law that the demonstration is supporting if the demonstration is violent or causes significant inconvenience to the public. Examples of these kinds of demonstrations are the Extinction Rebellion climate change protests and the anti-lockdown protests that I've described earlier in this video. The third strength of demonstrations is that they can help raise awareness of the need for the change in law that they support. And this can generate support among the public for that change. This is important because, given our system of representative government, it is only if the parliamentarians see widespread support for a change in law that they're likely to support it. On the other hand, demonstrations are often single events, so that once they're finished, they no longer have any impact. This can mean that there is no sustained support for the change in law that a demonstration is advocating, as once the demonstration has finished, people's attention moves on to other things and they forget what the demonstration was about. Finally, it takes time to organise a successful demonstration, as the success of a demonstration depends on it being publicised and communicated so that protesters know when and where to meet and have time to make banners that support the cause that is being promoted by the demonstration. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. As a result of watching and taking notes on this video, you should now be able to discuss the means by which individuals or groups can influence law reform through the use of demonstrations, using examples. In this video, I have given you examples of some recent demonstrations, and in class I will give you some additional examples. Don't forget to read the pages from the textbook referred to on the first slide, and if you find any additional information from that reading that you think is useful, then supplement your Cornell notes with that additional information. Thank you for your attention.